Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to your Bolton build-up show. So I've just done a preview on the Fanzone podcast, talking a bit of Bolton and Cardiff, and I thought, well, why not do a bit of a second part on our channel? And I've got Ben McQuaid here from the Fanzone podcast. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great, mate. Looking forward to what should be a top League One game on Saturday.
Yeah, it should be real good. It's I'm really interested in it because we haven't been very good the last few games. At the start of the season, it felt like we were going to sort of win every game because we were playing so well. And as I said on the show just now, the international break, the first one really sort of knocked our momentum. And then the second one then sort of has done similar. But we seem to have recovered in terms of results. Like we've picked up a couple of wins now and you're thinking, right, let's get some momentum. But the actual performances haven't been that great. So I'm interested because you obviously are coming off the back of a big result against Huddersfield. You know, a lot of people tipped Huddersfield to go up this year, and that's a tricky one. And obviously, as you just said to me, with a few minutes to go, you were sitting in 12th, I think it was. You were losing to Huddersfield, and as football being the beautiful game that it is, 5 minutes later, you're celebrating madly and you've won the game. Like, how do you see that game going? And also, more so, how has your season been so far?
Yeah, beautiful is exactly the right word for them last 5 minutes on Thursday. Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting season. We kind of came into it off the back of a really bad end to last season. Obviously, Everett got the sack late January, and then Schumacher came in, who was everyone's first choice, and then everything was kind of, we've got a really good squad, we've still got a decent chance of finishing the playoffs here, and he started off well, and then all of a sudden just went to pot, and we finished 10 points off the playoffs in the end. So there was a massive rebuild in the summer. I think we let go over 10 players and brought in 14, 15, I'm pretty sure it was in the end. So it's kind of one of them, and there's a lot of young players as well. I mean, not as young as your team, I don't think, but which is basically half academy lads, isn't it? But it's been fun, I'd say, is the main word. Fun and exciting. He's brought back more positive attacking football, and he's brought back wingers, and we've managed to land a couple of the best wingers in the league. One of them, no other than Mario Kozijubi, I'm sure. I think his goal has been viewed 1 million times in Bolton over the last week. But yeah, in terms of performances, I'd say in the first 8 or 9 games, probably similar to you lot. Even though our results weren't that great, we dominated pretty much 8 out of the first 9 games, I would say. And then our first stumbling block kind of game came away at Northampton, which was, I think, might have been in the international break. So I think our kind of performances wise have been pretty similar to you. And then Northampton away, we lost 2-0. Looked, again, it's the first game we kind of didn't dominate. And then it had Peter at home the weekend after, who went 2-0 up early on, and then again kind of struggled a little bit. They got back into it, and you're thinking at home against one of the worst teams in the league, we should kind of be putting them away a lot more easily. And then we went away at Burton, and they got Burton just like you did. That's kind of a welcome to League One. You get your Burton in early, and I mean, and then obviously last Thursday, again, like we said, with 5 minutes to go, we were standing on the face of 3 losses in 4 and mid-table, thinking, we're going to have to try and scrape playoffs again this year. But yeah, I mean, 2 huge goals, and I think everyone is a lot more looking at the season a lot more rosy after that.
Yeah, for sure. Things can change really quickly, can't they? I think sometimes when I read social media and stuff with Cardiff fans, you think, God, it feels like we're bottom of the league, not top of the league, because everything is so reactive. But I guess it's the way of the world. But it's going to be, do you know what really an interesting aspect of this game this weekend is? Both sides average in the mid-60s for possession over the season. Cardiff, I can't remember. I'm trying to think now. I don't really remember a game this season where we've played someone and they've had more of the ball. And I'll be quite interested to see how we deal with that, because we press so relentlessly and so high that it almost feels like if you've got the ball, it's going to be constant just chasing. But if you like to do the same thing, I think I just said on the show, I feel like if Bolton come and be quite aggressive in the way they play, that might play into Cardiff's hands a little bit. But also, like I said, both teams are used to having the ball, so it'll be fascinating to see how either team sort of deals with that fact.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I think our high possession stats have been basically a product of game state. We've gone 1-0 down in basically all our games apart from Plymouth, Wigan, and Peterborough. I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong. So we've been chasing games quite a lot, and them three games I just mentioned, Plymouth who went 1-0 up early on, and I think we're about 40% possession that game. Wigan, it was about 50-50, maybe less. And Wimbledon, sorry, was another one. We dominated the ball that game, but they had 10 men with about 40 minutes left of the game, and then 9 man later on. So it's kind of against circumstances. I feel like we have been at our best when we've kind of made the games a bit more end-to-end, a bit more basketball-y. And I mean, the best example of that was Wigan, is obviously a derby game. You're not going to come out and have 70% of the ball and have everything your own way. They came at us, and it ended up being our best performance of the season with 3-0 up just before our time. And we've got this season as a major difference. We've got real pace in attacking areas. Obviously, with Cozy Dubry, I mentioned Mason Burstow up front. He's been really good. Thierry Gale, who will be missing this weekend, so I'll wait to see who it is on the left hand side. Maybe Jordi Osei-Tutu again. He was no slug himself. So yeah, I feel like where your high possession has been a case of that's how Barry Murphy wants to play. Obviously, coming from City, I think it was pretty obvious from the start that he was going to try and play a high possession football, a bit like what we did under Edward over the last few years. Whereas ours has been kind of more circumstantial, I feel like. So I think if one team was going to go into the game, like if I could have a bet right now, we'd have more possession on Saturday. I would say, as long as we don't go 1-0 down after 5 minutes, I would say Cardiff.
Interesting for sure. I really like Steven Schumacher as a manager. I think it was last year when Errol Bullitt left. He was kind of quite high up on my wish list for managers. I think he's really, like, he plays good football. Like you said, he plays with wingers, and he also I like the way that he's quite adaptable and quite flexible. So like, I'm interested to see what plan he comes up with for Cardiff, because I feel the teams that have had a plan for us this year, I feel like they're the teams who've done better against us. The teams that have kind of just rocked up and tried to play, well, we play like this and this is how we're going to play. We've kind of picked them off, like Plymouth and Rotherham. We kind of took them apart to a certain degree. Whereas teams like Leyton Orient, teams like, Burton, Burton had a game plan. It might not be very exciting to watch, but they had a game plan. They stuck to it, and they did a job. And Bradford did it exceptionally well. They completely negated what Cardiff were trying to sort of build and what they were going to do. So I am tactically really fascinated by Saturday's game. I wanted to ask you though, if I had to ask you where you think your strongest point is to get at Cardiff, but also what's your weakest area that you think Cardiff might be able to get at you?
I mean, we've been the masters of our own downfall in defence this season. I'm not sure if you're a stats man yourself, but we are way out in front for shots taken this season and way out in front for, least shots conceded this season. Yet we're about mid-table for goals conceded and towards the top for goals for. I mean, kind of opposite to yourselves. I mean, per game, I think it is, Cardiff have conceded, I think, the most or the second most shots this season, and only conceded 10 goals. I mean, a big thanks to Nathan Trott. But whereas we're kind of the opposite, our big weakness has been just silly individual errors in defence after not really conceding many chances in a game. We do tend to concede our first chance of the game, and it's normally down to someone in defence leaving a man free or Teddy Sharman low in net, not saving a shot that you would kind of expect him to save. He's had a pretty rough start to his Bolton career. But yeah, and in terms of strongest, I would say probably pace on the counter-attack. As I say, I mean, Amaro Kozidubi is the obvious place to start. He's not really left any left back coming off the pitch thinking he's had a decent game this season. Even, again, on Thursday, had a pretty quiet game up until the 90th minute where he set up and scored the winner. Obviously, Burstow up front has got some pace himself. Marcus Forster, who plays in the 10 behind him, is very quick and is a good finisher, got great movement. So Yeah, I would say our pace on the attack and our individuals in attack and our individual errors at the back and probably our goalkeeper saving shots.
Yeah, so again, that's fascinating, right? Because it does mirror a lot of Cardiff in terms of our sort of ropey spell, I guess you'd call it, has come through individual errors from, without singling him out, largely Gabriel Osho has made a lot of those errors recently, it feels like. But it's not just him, there's other errors as well. However, we've been lucky that, but for a couple which cost us goals, Nathan Trotter's kind of kept us in games. He's been outrageous this season, I've got to say. But on the other hand of that, we've been relatively clinical with the chances that we've created and put away. And I think it'll be another really interesting aspect, as you said, about the winger who hasn't left the left back sort of having a good game. Our left back, Joe Bagan, has been super consistent all season, and he's had some really good games. But I don't think he's dropped. I think he dropped one sort of 5 out of 10, and then the rest is like 7, 8s and stuff. So that'll be a really good battle. And like you say, Bolton will be dangerous on the transition. One thing that Cardiff do is they leave a lot of gaps because they're so aggressive in their shape. We play with 5 across the front a lot of the time, and when it does break down, we can sometimes be a bit exposed. I think that Cardiff should and probably will target Josh Sheenan just for his pace or lack of. And I think we press in that area quite heavily anyway. But I actually wouldn't be shocked to see Alex Robertson start. Like, he hasn't been in our squad for, all season. The manager talked him up a little bit today. He's been fit for a while. He's trained all week. He's a player who I could see us, like, I feel like we need him at the moment. Our midfield has been quite open. Joel Colwell is very good, but he's young. So, by definition, he has one good game, then he has an all right game, then he's a bit out of the game, and it's difficult. Do you think the Steven Schumacher will have any particular plan for any sort of certain player that Cardiff have, maybe a Ruben Colwell or someone like that? Or will he just set up, defensively as you do?
I think he'll certainly have a plan for the game. He's a complete opposite of what we had under Everett, who was 3-5-2 every game. This is how we play, as he mentioned before. That's the type of setup that doesn't work against Cardiff. He's been pretty adaptable. I mean, last season especially, he basically played a new formation every game and made about 4 or 5 changes. But this season, it's been a little bit more steady, either in a 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2. But in terms of individual players, I'm not too sure. Maybe you'll stick Xavi Simons or Josh Sheehan on Ruben Colwell. I mean, he is the danger man. But I mean, Ethan Arahan is a big missing midfielder. He's our probably most sturdiest defensive midfielder that you'd imagine you could stick on someone. But as you say, Josh Sheehan is more of a ball player and wants to be on the ball rather than doing the dirty work out of possession. So it'd be interesting to see how we cope with Colwell in midfield and Robertson if he plays as well. Obviously, I remember him from his Pompey names. He was a level above League One at the time. So I'm surprised to see he's still back down here.
I think so is he, mate, to be honest. But look, I'm not sure if he will be in the squad. I hope he is, but I've got a feeling he might end up being in the squad for the Carling Cup. I was going to call it the Carling Cup. It's not the Carling Cup anymore, is it? Carabao Cup or whatever, against Wrexham on Tuesday. But I wouldn't be dreadfully shocked to see him, play on Saturday. I think it's going to be an interesting, and I think it's going to be quite a fast-paced game. I hope that Cardiff have Dylan Lawler in defence, because I think that he brings a composure and a calmness to it that'll help Cardiff in and out of possession. And I think if it becomes a bit of a basketball game, I think that'll probably suit you guys more than us, because we, outside of Isaac Davis, we haven't really got that much pace to go in behind, other than the kind of the fullback in Kapakiao. So I think that'll suit you more. Whereas, like I said, I think we will try and hurt you on the transition, and I think Brian Barry Murphy will try to be a bit more solid out of possession. Well, I hope he is, because I do worry about that shape at times. I'm really looking forward to the battle between the two managers, I've got to say, because I think it's two managers who are very tactically switched on and not afraid to influence games by their selections either. Like you mentioned, Schumacher played a few different systems last year. Brian Barry Murphy's not afraid to go 2 up front or 3 at the back, and he will change it in the game if he sees a sort of mistake or if he sees an error that he's made as well. A couple of times this season, I think he's brought players off at half time or even in the first half where he sees something that's not quite right. I wanted to ask you about Ian Evatt though, but you brought him up, so now he's fair game. Because he was linked quite heavily to the Cardiff job in the summer, and I was very, very against it. But some people thought, oh yeah, he knows the league, etc. I said he will either succeed or he will burn the place to the ground on his way out and fall out with everyone. Where do you stand on him, and how accurate is that for a prediction?
Yeah, I don't think you're far away at all, to be honest. He succeeded for a long time, and he has succeeded for a long time in his managerial career, and then it all crashed down and burned last season. So, I think you're pretty spot on. In terms of, it's hard to say because he had glaring weaknesses and glaring strengths. When we were good, we were very, very good, and no team could touch us in this league. And we showed that we were top of the league. Sort of January time, 23-24, and it looked like we were just going to go on and romp the league. But kind of all fell apart. Some down to injuries and some down to teams had figured out the way we were playing. And as I said before, we were very rigid. He was very rigid and stubborn in his ways. He liked his 3-5-2. He liked focusing to play on the wing backs and having 2 up front, and very, very rarely switched away from that. So as soon as we kind of got found out, that was kind of it. I'm really interested to see how he gets on at Blackpool because, if you look at his managerial CV, it's a mid-table season at Barrow in the National League, which you think, wow, and then he won the league the year after, then got promoted with us the year after that in League Two, and then stabilised as a League One club the year after that, and then he got 2 playoff campaigns. So if you look at these first 5 seasons, they're pretty successful, but then last year was pretty dreadful, especially given the money we'd spent as well. And he's had, as a character, he's quite hard to warm to if he doesn't succeed straight away. I'm not sure if you've seen. There was a Bolton fan tweeted. It was 20 interviews where he made himself look a bit stupid over his time as a Bolton manager. So he's one of them. When it's going well, he's great. You love him, but the other time it's going badly, you're thinking, it's hard to watch. But yeah, he's had time out of the game now. He was sacked in January last year, so 8-9 months to maybe rethink how he wants to play. And I'm intrigued how he goes on at Blackpool, because if he goes in with the exact same principles he did 18 months ago at us at the start of last season, then I think it will crash and burn. But if he comes in and tries something else, there's no reason why he can't get them back up, mid-table and even playoffs. I know it's early days still, but yeah.
What was your Bolton? What was the overall feeling going into this season? Were you kind of like promotion or bust, or was it progression on last season, or like where was the general sort of expectations? Because obviously you brought in a lot of new players, didn't you?
Yeah. I think a massive rebuild had to be done this summer. Last summer we spent quite a lot of money for League One level on. John McAtee was around £1 million. Savichon just under £1 million. Aaron Collins in January before was 750,000, and quite a few other signings in between. So at that point last year, it was, and we just missed out on top 2 and lost in the playoff final. So at that point, it was, we need to finish top 2 here, and playoff win at the very least is what is acceptable. And it turned out we were basically never in the playoffs in the whole season. So massive rebuild was needed this summer. And obviously first summer under a new manager, first season under a new manager, and still with the same defence that conceded 70 goals last season, pretty much. I'd say, in my personal opinion, it was playoffs and see where we go from there. I think a decent start to the season performances and a couple of results, maybe high in expectations a little bit, but now we've had a couple of bad results, we're kind of back down to earth. And I think playoffs is the expectation. If you look at the other squads in this league, especially, look at you and Luton in particular, and Stockport last season, missed out on the playoffs, and a couple of the other boys that have improved massively this season, like Stevenage. I think, and if you look at budgets as well, I think you'd have us about around top 6, definitely not top 2. So yeah, to me, playoffs. But we've been in League One we've been outside the Championship for 7-8 seasons now. So yeah, there's a lot of impatience in the fan base that won Championship at all costs, basically. But I think it's playoffs.
Interesting. So, who do you think is the best team and the worst team that you've faced in League One so far?
That we've played so far. I mean, I'll go worst, and I don't think it'll come as a surprise. I think I would probably say Blackpool, even though we drew that game. Mm-hmm. They were just awful. Went away to them. I mean, again, they were one of the pre-season favourites to go up or finish top 6. So we kind of went there expecting a tough game. And it was anything but. We went 1-0 down early on, as I said. It was half time, 1-0 to them, and they hadn't had a shot on target. It was a shot outside the blocks. It deflected off our defender, hit the post, hit our keeper, and went in. And then the rest of the 90 minutes was basically us dominating, and we found an equaliser and thought we found a winner, but it was offside. But yeah, they were pretty terrible in a so-called derby game at home. They just showed absolutely nothing. In terms of best team we've played, bit of a tough one, because I mean the games we've lost were first day of the season Stockport, which I think we were a better team in the first half, and then they got one just before half time, and then got one later on, and they could, on the balance of play, it was a bit of an even game, and they didn't start the season too well performance wise. Obviously, since then they've improved a lot, and our other 2 losses are against Bolton and Northampton. So teams that are down there or down in mid-table. But I think I'm trying to think really who impressed me. Probably I would probably put Lincoln up there, because they went 1-0 up early on against us. I think it was about 19 seconds and restricted us to pretty much nothing in the first half. It wasn't until the second half when we made changes in midfield that we started to dominate the game, and then we only equalised to a 97th minute winner through Kozia Dewberry. So I would put Lincoln up there, and Barnsley as well, who looked good against us first half. They were down to 10 men for the last 40 minutes, and it wasn't until 5 minutes near the end where we equalised to make it 1-1. So you've got to give them credit as well. So I'd say Barnsley and Lincoln.
Nice. Yeah, I thought Peterborough were really poor. Well, we played them first game of the season, so I kind of give them a little bit of leeway. But considering they're so experienced in, they kind of yo-yo between League One and Championship, don't they? Like I thought they were really sort of, I don't know, just all over the place. Like I just thought they were quite poor. Trying to think who else I wasn't impressed with. There was someone, Rotherham, I wasn't massively impressed with either. I thought they were like, we didn't even get out of second gear in that game. It was kind of like, wow. But then also Plymouth, Plymouth was an interesting one, because I thought Plymouth played pretty well against us, considering they were in the sort of middle of a bit of a bad spell. They played all right, but suddenly they came away losing 4-0. So I think it was kind of one of them where you're in a bad run, deflected goals, and
everything goes against you.
Yeah. But you look at them and they're just struggling. They just really seem to be struggling to adapt to League One, and they got some massive names in that team, and they spent a lot of money on their their football structure in the summer as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how League One develops. It's got to be said, because I wasn't sure that Stevenage would be up there this year, but they look like they're flying. So Bradford was probably the best team I think we played. Actually, I thought they were really good, but that's another one where they beat us 3-0. But I felt like on another day, or if we played them 10 times, that we'd win. It was just we were particularly just off it on that day. But you got to give them credit. I thought they were very good on the day. So that was kind of the 3-1. Sorry, it was not 3-0. But yeah, I thought they were pretty good. That's probably then they had a couple of players who I really like in like Norville and a couple of others. Right, just to sort of wrap us up, mate. Who do you think is going to go up and down this year? Like, what's your bottom 4? What's your top 3? Or your top 2 and playoff winner?
Yeah, I'll start with the bottom four, and it's two you've mentioned, Peterborough and Rotherham. I think I've watched Rotherham a couple of times this season. He looked dreadful, and Peterborough as well. I mentioned actually they did all right against us, but I think it's been one season too far of selling their best players and not spending the money. Basically, they've relied on their academy and signing from the National League to help them through. But yeah, it's just 1 year too far for me. And then I think, although they started really well, I think I'm going to put Doncaster in there. They're dropping like a stone at the minute. They started really well the first 5 or 6 games, and I think I had them just finishing just above. But in terms of individual quality and the size of the squad, I don't think they'll be able to last the season. Sorry, Donny fans. And there's a final one. I don't know if this is just because they beat us 3-0, but Burton.
Yeah,
they seem to circle the drain every year, and at some point they're going to have to drop because they can't just keep surviving miraculously every year. So yeah, I'll go Burton. And in terms of the top, I mean, before the season, I think I had Cardiff and Luton in my top 2. I think I'll keep Cardiff in there. Bradford have really impressed me. Huddersfield I've been disappointed with, who I had in my top 3 as well before the season. I think I would go 4, but I'm confident in ourselves that we're going to put a run together. As I said before, we dominated most of our games this season and kind of come away not with the 3 points or with a dominant scoreline. I think this league is wide open at the minute for someone to come and storm up and take a top 2 spot. So it's a roundabout way of saying I think we're going to finish in the top 2 with Cardiff, and I would say Stevenage in the playoffs, because I think the way they set up is perfect for a playoff campaign.
Yeah, I've got you to win the playoffs because I think the results don't quite paint the picture of your season so far, and particularly your home form. I think when you've got home form like that, if you can maintain that for the majority of the season, you're going to be up there anyway. I do think we'll get in the top sort of 2. And then I would go probably Stock. I think Stockport have got that experience of last year. Yeah. And quite often you see teams fail in the playoffs and then pop into the automatics the season after. So I'd probably go there. Relegation, Blackpool just look doomed. I agree with you on Doncaster. They look like they are just... I think they've lost 5 of the last 6, and they just look like they haven't probably got enough quality. I hope Reading stay up. I've got some friends there, and I would like them to stay up, but I do worry about them because, a bit like you, they brought in a lot of players in the summer. Some of them are quite young, and I didn't realise quite how young until I sat behind their bench the other day, and they all look like children, and I was just like, right, Jesus.
One of them 17-year-old Garcia scored against us, and so yeah.
Yeah, I've just accepted that I'm old at this point, mate. Even the Cardiff players, they on TV, they always, these footballers, they always look older. But where I sit, I'm right by the bench, and I just look at them and look at my son, and they like his age, and I'm just like, oh, this is depressing. This is, but yeah, no, it's who else do I think is going to go down? Burton, definitely going to say them. I think Peterborough are in big danger, but I think. With Peterborough, I think they've just got enough kind of experience, and Dan Ferguson's experienced enough to sort of get himself out of it, but they are not very good. And I do wonder on Plymouth whether they might just be like one of those teams which goes down, because I can't believe they're still down there ultimately.
Yeah,
but
same. I think they're losing again tonight. They were just before we went live anyway, obviously against Exeter, their rivals.
Yeah, they're losing now.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, they could do a Luton of last year. It's one of them. Everyone expects them to do well, and they kind of don't realise that they're in a relegation scrap until it's too late.
Yeah, and the thing is, I really do like Tom Cleverley as a manager. I think he's a really good young manager, but it's so difficult going in somewhere when they're already on a bit of a slide. And when he took over, they were already kind of sliding. There was all sorts of problems off the field. Because you look at their squad, and they've got Tolage's quality. Yeah. Nola's quality, Edwards. They've got real good players, and you're thinking, why are they down the bottom? But it's difficult to stop that slide once it starts. For Cardiff fans, We know what that was like last year. You know, you looked at the squad on paper and you were like, oh, we'll never go down. But once the slides start, like once that negative run starts, it's so difficult to just find a way to just win football matches. And that's why recently, when Cardiff fans have been a bit vocal and a bit frustrated, I've just said, look, they're finding a way to win. So ultimately, that's all that matters, is whether you can get 3 points. Like, the season's a long, hard slog. Just win. Just find a way to win. And it's not a bad habit to have if you can just kind of grind out results, not playing particularly great, but everyone wants performances and XG and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's finish off on Saturday. How do you see the game going? What do you think the score will be? Try to be honest, but like me, you're not going to predict against Bolton, of course. But like, how do you see the game going?
Overall? Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I hope so anyway, because I think it's going to be two teams that try and dominate possession. I feel like we're going to let you have the ball a little bit more, which when we've done that in games this season has suited us a lot more. I do worry that we give up goals very, very easily, and your attacking line is well, especially Colwell and Salek, who not even mentioned today. But I think if there's one striker I'd swap Burstow for in this division, it'd be Salek. Yeah, I'm worried that if we give you just 2 chances, that we can see ourselves 2-0 down early on, and then it's watching you have the ball for the rest of the game and chasing shadows. But I'm like you said on our podcast. I don't think I've ever. I think the only time I've predicted us to lose is when we played Arsenal in the FA Cup last year. So I'm gonna say 2-1 Bolton. I'm gonna say it's going to be more like a Plymouth or a Wigan at home, where the other team wanting possession kind of plays into our hands, and we can dominate on the break.
Yeah, I think my worry from a Cardiff point of view is that the manager might go. Someone's just said in the comments. Martin's just said in the comments there, the manager might go a bit safe away from home and play sort of Callum Chambers and Perry NG and Turnbull, Robinson, the more experienced players. And actually, the majority of those, I think, weaken us. We actually look far more composed, and we look just like a better footballing team. People know their roles when we play the younger ones, which is probably because they're more coachable, right? You know, Callum Chambers, has been very good actually this year recently, but he's been around. He's played at Arsenal. He's been there.
Yeah,
they're not to say they got a bad attitude by any means, but just that they've got their ways of doing things, haven't they? And young players can be molded, and I think that's why Barry Murphy likes working with the younger players, because he can imprint what he wants to do, isn't it?
And I think what he mentioned before about once you start the slide, it's hard to stop it. So I think that's partly why he might mention this, but partly why he's stuck with a lot of the young players, because correct if I'm wrong, quite a lot of them weren't in the team last year or haven't been in the team for the last few years. So it's kind of a clean slate without having to sign loads of new players, and you can instill a winning mentality from the start rather than trying to switch around players that are used to losing every week.
Yeah, apart from Nathan Trott and obviously Kellyman's on loan. Apart from Nathan Trott and Gabriel Osho, every single one of the players that Cardiff have in their squad this year were technically available to them last year, which is insane, really. But
the opposite of us, basically.
they were never going to chuck in kids to a relegation battle, I suppose. So, for their first experience of league football. So I guess it is where it is. But in terms of a score, I'll go with 2-1 Cardiff, like I did on yours. But yeah, my full tactical preview is out in the morning, so do check that out on the channel. And then Evan's got a long video out tomorrow where he's rating the season so far, player by player, because I will be hosting a live event with Sean Morrison tomorrow evening. So if you're there, make sure you come and say hello. And also, if you're there and you've got your Cardiff City World football shirt, come and get that off me as well, because it's going to be a good night. I'm really looking forward to it. Really got to say that. Ben, thank you so much for joining me, mate. I wish you nothing but the best for the season after Saturday. But I really like Stephen Schumacher, and I really like Mason Burstow, sorry. So I'm like, yeah, just get Saturday out of the way and then crack on. But
likewise, thanks for having me.
Yeah, take it easy, my friend. And guys, make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And of course, check it out on Spotify if you're listening after, or you want to listen after. Cardiff City content 7 days a week. By fans, for fans, and we'll see you in a bit. Nice one. This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans, for fans, balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.